Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending our presentation today. My name is Annalie Shane, and I'm a technical field trainer with VIVOTEK. Today, I want to go over the basics whenever it comes to installing our cameras. Okay, in today's presentation, I'll go over some installation techniques, and then I want to show you how easy it is to configure our cameras. I'll also go over some of the different technologies that our cameras features. If you have any questions at all, please send them over to trainingna@vivotek.com and we'll answer you as soon as possible. VivoTech's network cameras feature a range of megapixel resolutions, camera dimensions, advanced technologies, and value-added video analytic functions in order to satisfy the needs of a diverse range of applications. Our wide array of choices allow users to truly achieve unobstructed monitoring of wide open areas such as airport terminals, shopping malls, retail stores, offices, and more. You can know certain details about our cameras just by looking at the model number. So let's go over how easy our naming rule is. We're going to start off with the first two characters. So these first two characters are going to tell you the model category. So as you see here, we have FD. So that stands for fixed dome. If you see an FE, that's fisheye. IB is bullet. IT is for our turret domes. SD for speed dome, and so forth and so on. The next number that we see in the third position is going to be either an 8 or a 9, and that's going to tell us what kind of compression technology that this has. So if it's an 8, it's H.264, and if it's a 9, it's H.265. In the fourth position, that's going to be either a 1, 3, or 5. So if it's a 1, it's an indoor camera, 3 is outdoor camera, 5 is mobile certified camera. And then let's skip all the way to the end. And these are going to tell us all the different features or the most important features of the camera. So I'm sure you guys have seen a camera ending in dash EHTV. So the E is going to be for extended temperature. That's going to be for the really hot or really cold areas. Um, you're going to use the dash E. H is for high dynamic range or wide dynamic range. T is for remote focus. And then V is for vandal proof. And then we have other features here as well that you'll see at the end of the dash. Now that we know how to easily identify the cameras just by looking at our model numbers, let's go over some of the good practices for whenever you're installing your cameras. For our outdoor cameras, you need to make sure that you're using a wrench to torque down that weatherproofing nut and grommet. Okay, please don't tighten it by the hand and think that's going to be good enough. You want that rubber grommet to bulge a little. Okay, also remember to use Ethernet cable that's between 5 to 6.3 millimeters in thickness. And then right here is just a quick video showing you what it should look like whenever it's tightened down properly. Remember that water, if it can find a way in, it's coming in. It's also good practice to form a drip loop on the back end cable so moisture can gather into condensation and then form water droplets and run along that cable. This drip loop is going to ensure that no water gets into that camera. Another good practice is whenever you're ready to close up the camera, before you close it up, take it out and throw away that silica gel packet that's currently in the camera, and then replace it with the packs that come in the foil packaging within your camera's box. Okay, I want to be sure to emphasize this that if you're not already doing this with your outdoor cameras, this is definitely something that you should be doing. Another thing I just wanted to show you guys is give you a feel of where you can find your reset button, because if you ever forget your camera's password, you will have to physically push the reset button to bring your camera back to factory settings. Okay, that reset button can be found in different areas of your cameras. And then here's just a few examples of where to find that button. So on our regular dome camera, pull off the lid, and then if you look over here, on the board, you'll see that we have the reset button. For our turret domes, you can remove the top And then you can find the reset button here. It's close to the micro SD card slot. Same thing for our bullets. There is a reset button. You just have to pull off the front and then you'll find the reset button there. And then for our other form factor bullets, you will have to take off the external cover that is shielding the micro SD card slot and the reset button. And then this is just another form factor of our bullet cameras. Pull off the cover and you have your micro SD and your reset button there. All right, so now that we have our camera installed and the Ethernet cable plugged in and powered on with a PoE switch, now we can go on to the networking portion. Whenever a VIVOTEK camera starts up, it's going to look for a DHCP server to hand out an IP address to it. So if there is a DHCP server available, it's going to give the camera an IP address, and then your camera is going to be talking on the network. However, if the server is not available, then the camera is going to receive an APIPA address. That's an automatic private IP address. And you guys have seen this plenty of times before, that 169.254 number. Well, that address right there is given out so that the host is still able to communicate with other hosts on the local network segment that are also configured for APIPA. Okay. And then now that we can communicate with the camera, we can manually go into the configuration and then statically assign an IP address. And let me show you a demo of getting into the network section on this camera. So using Shepherd, we're going to choose our camera, the IT9388. And at the top right, we're going to go into configuration. And then we're going to choose network, general settings. And then here you can see that it's set up for DHCP or to get an IP address automatically. We're going to choose use fixed IP address and go ahead and enter in all of the information that we need. Okay, what I want to show you here is with that enable UPnP port forwarding, is that if you're having troubles getting to the router, but your router has the UPnP set up, if you were to check that box right there and click on save, it's going to automatically send over the ports to your router that you need open. So I just want to give you that as a little tip. All right, and then we click on save. Our device is going to go ahead and save that IP address, and then it's going to reopen the web browser to the new IP address. Now that we have that set up, we can go back and get familiar with the camera's home page. So as soon as we log into the camera's web UI, this is the home page. Okay. On the left-hand side, we have the camera control area for digitally zooming in and out of that video. We could choose what video stream we're wanting to look at. We can resize the picture. So if you guys are in one of our, let's say MS9390, um, the two lens camera or Wally, like we like to call him, if you were to click on auto, then that will make you be able to see the entire picture in this one live view area. Okay. Over here at the very top, it gives us our camera name or the model name. Here's our configuration area, our live view window, obviously, and then we have our video control buttons. And then we can take snapshots, zoom in, pause, stop, and record, and then full screen as well. And then if you want to know where you're recording to, go into client settings, and that's going to tell you exactly where you're going to be recording to if you hit this button over here. Now let's get into the configuration. So we're on the home page. At the top right, we're going to get into configuration. First things first, let's go ahead and we need to get to general settings where we can set up the host name. We could change the model name to be a different name. And then we need to set up the time zones and then make sure that we have the correct time on our cameras. And you can easily do that with synchronize with computer time. And then if we go under maintenance, we can upgrade the camera's firmware by just going to download the firmware from VivoTech's website, and then you can upload it here. We can also reboot the camera and then restore the camera to factory settings. But say you did not want to restore it, you didn't want to change the IP address that you have statically assigned. You can go ahead and click on that network checkbox and then click restore. Everything else will go to factory settings except for your static IP address. Image settings is where we can make a lot of changes to how the view of the camera looks. So we're going to go to Media, Image. Under the General Settings tab, we can choose whether or not we want to or how to display the timestamp. Right here, you'll see power line frequency, and this is to eliminate the image flickering that's associated with fluorescent lights, okay? The power line frequency for the US is 60 hertz. You can also manipulate the orientation of the camera by flipping, mirroring, and rotating. Okay, so here is just a chart showing you how each term will change the view. And then down here, you can set up your day and night settings. Next technology I want to go over with you guys is Smart IR. And what this does is it helps to enhance your image for the night scenes. Okay, this technology automatically adjusts the IR amplification whenever objects get too close. So let me show you where to go to get to that. So if we are under Media, Image, IR Control, we can turn on and off the built-in IR illuminators. And then this anti-overexposure right here is our smart IR. This is how you can turn on and off this feature. I just want to show you guys a demo of the smart IR working. So if you notice on the left-hand side, we have the smart IR that's off, and you see how as he's walking closer, he completely gets washed out. While on the right-hand side with smart IR on, we can still see all of his features. All right, I'm just going to put this here just for you guys to remember for later. And then moving on, well, let's talk about image settings. So here we can tune the white balance and also adjust the image. So we're still under Media, Image, and we click on the Image Settings tab. Now, what I want to show here under white balance, we're in automatic mode. The reference point for white is going to be the brightest point in the image. Okay, so say your camera is monitoring an area where the brightest point isn't really white, then the colors of that image are going to be far from what we consider real. In order to adjust the value for the best color temperature, you can just take a white sheet of paper, put that in front of the lens, and allow the camera to automatically adjust the color temperature from that. Then you'll click on the on button to fix the current value, and then confirm the setting while the white balance is being measured. Next, defog is going to help them improve the visibility quality of the captured images if you have poor weather, such as like, smog, fog, or smoke. And then we have 3D noise reduction, which is mostly applied in low light conditions, and this will help reduce noises and flickers in your image. Okay, but whenever it's enabled in a low light condition with fast moving objects, the trails or after images may occur, and then you may have to then select a lower strength level or disable the function completely. And then we also have profile mode to where we can set up certain settings for nighttime or at certain times of day as well. And here's just a demo of the defog technology working. So on the left is no defog, on the right has defog, and just look at the clarity of the view on the right hand side that actually has that defog technology working. And just to show you an example of the 3D noise reduction or 3D NR. So you notice all the static, that is the noise. With that 3 DNR engine working, you can notice that all of that is gone. And last thing I want to show you guys here is how much you are going to save in your bandwidth consumption because we have 43 megs without DNR, 3 DNR, and then 3.5 megs with it working. All right, moving on to the exposure tab. First, I want to start off with the fast auto exposure. Okay, so this function is for whenever you need to monitor fast changing lighting conditions. So let's say you have a camera that's monitoring a highway lane or an entrance of a parking area at night. Cars are constantly passing by with their lights on. So this is going to be able to change the lighting very quickly in that area by enabling that fast auto exposure or AE. It's going to help you monitor this area. So I want to show you guys a demo of the feature working. On the left is without, on the right is with, and just take a look at how quick the camera adjusts to those different lighting conditions. All right, next I want to go under this exposure strategy. So this function is going to allow the users to set measurement windows for low light compensation. So for example, where low light objects are posed against an extremely bright background, you may want to exclude the bright sunlight shining through the building's corridors. Okay, right here, I want to show you how the exposure changes by adding an inclusion and exclusion windows. So first we're using an inclusive window. So we want to include this darker area. You notice how it brightens up. And let's move that include to the brightest area and everything goes really dark. Let's go ahead and add an exclusive window. Let's exclude the bright sunlight and it lightens up. And then we exclude the darkest part and then it gets a little bit darker. BLC is backlight compensation. And then HLC is highlight compensation, and this is for areas that are overexposed. You'll notice that Smart IR has to be disabled if you want to continue, but I want to show you what HLC does to get rid of that highlight. Next, we'll go over WDR or wide dynamic range. This is all the way at the very bottom of this section. Okay, this is going to allow for the cameras to capture details in those high contrast environments. Think about whenever a person is walking into a dimly lit office through the door, they have the sun behind them. What happens to them? Their picture, their profile gets very dark. Okay, so we can use WDR and to help us out with these situations. So you can adjust the strength to low, medium, or high so that you can get those best image qualities. Any of our cameras with an H after the dash have the WDR technology, and that H just stands for high dynamic range, which is the same as wide dynamic range. And then here's a demo showing you the difference that WDR makes. Pay close attention to what's going on the right-hand side of the screen. So that's the area underneath that little awning. It's very dark under there. Can't really see what's going on. But whenever we have a camera that has the WDR technology, now we can clearly see what's going on in the dimly lit area and also in the brightly lit area. And just a side-by-side comparison. And then the final tab we're going to go over in this section is going to be the focus tab that's available with our remote focus cameras. So any of our cameras with the dash T on the end of that model number have this technology. And then here I just want to show you how to perform a custom focus. So you can do an autofocus, no problem. It's just going to automatically focus on what's best of the screen. If we do a custom view, then we can choose where we want to focus in on. So if I choose this focus window and I move it over here to my little toy at the top of the window and then perform autofocus, then my camera is going to try and focus in on that area. All right, and then we can also manually focus the camera as well just by using the zoom and the focus buttons right below the camera view. Now let's talk about compression and streams. H.265 compression is available with our 9000 series cameras. So remember, if you see FD9, IB9, FE9, those cameras are going to have H.265 technology. And then with this technology, you get better video quality with lower bandwidth. With H.265, it's going to reduce the bandwidth consumption and your storage consumption by 30 to 50% and still retain a high image quality compared to H.264. It's suitable for any application and environment, whether it's indoors or outdoors. And then you can see right here on this graph that it shows that a day and night significant reduction in bandwidth consumption just by using H.265 instead of H.264. Then if you combine it with VIVOTEK Smart Stream technology, you can get even more savings in your bandwidth, up to 90% using H.265 with Smart Stream 3. Want to go over the different smart streams that we have available for our cameras. So Smart Codec is our Smart Stream 1 technology. Smart Codec is going to effectively reduce the quality of the whole or the non-interested area, depending on how you specify it on a screen, and therefore it's going to reduce that bandwidth consumed. So you can manually specify the video quality for the foreground and the background areas, and then you can use the auto mode, which is going to configure the whole screen into a non-interested area. The video quality of part of the screen returns to normal whenever one or more objects move in that area. Okay, the remainder of the screen where there are no moving objects or no pixel changes is going to still be transmitted in that low quality format. And then you can also manually create your regions of interest as well. Just want to show you a quick demo of this work, and we call this the cobblestone effect. So just pay attention to the guy walking and the cobblestones beneath him. Where he has moved, that is where we're getting the high definition areas, while the remainder of the screen is in a low resolution. Smart Stream 2 consists of our dynamic intraframe period. So first I want to start off by defining iframe and p frames. An iframe is an intra-coded picture. It's like a complete image or like a JPEG image file. A P frame or a predicted picture is going to hold only the changes in the image from the previous frame. Okay, the iframes are completely self-referential and they are the largest in size. The P frames are predicted frames, and the encoder refers to the previous I or the P frame for redundant image information. But by dynamically prolonging the intervals for adding in your iframes or your interframes to complete images up to 10 seconds, then the bit rates required for streaming a video can be greatly reduced. Okay, if activities occur in that scene, then the firmware is going to automatically shorten the iframe or the intraframe and then the complete picture insertion timing so that it can maintain the image quality. Smart Stream 3 consists of two different types of technologies that we have. So Smart Q is one of them, and this is going to reduce the bit rate by using real-time scene information. The scene is analyzed and then it's going to be separated into several blocks by complexity. And each of these blocks are encoded with a compression parameter so that it can maintain the visual quality and then also reduce the bit rate. The next part of Smart Stream 3 is smart frames per second or smart FPS. So in a static scene, the algorithm is going to just put old frames into queue whenever no motion occurs in that scene. But whenever motion does occur, the encoding returns back to normal so that it can deliver the real-time stream. By queuing those old frames from a static scene, both of the computing efforts and the size of those predicted frames or p-frames are going to be reduced. And this is going to help keep up with those frame rate requirements, but also reduce your bandwidth usage. And this is just a chart showing all the Smart Stream features and which ones are included with each generation. In our cameras UI, let's go to video. And right here, what I want to show you is that first, before it goes to stream, is this one, we have the option to choose what kind of megapixel we want for our cameras based on our needs. So this camera right here is a 5 megapixel turret. I have three choices. If I need WDR Pro, then I will have 20 max frames per second available to me. And I can choose to use it as either 5 megapixel or 4 megapixel camera. So I'll choose 5 megapixel if I need the higher megapixels. But if I prefer a widescreen 16:9 aspect ratio, then I'll choose the 4 megapixels. If I don't need WDR Pro, but I must have those 30 frames per second, then I can use the camera as a 4 megapixel camera. All right, let's go ahead and click on stream. And this is going to show us how to make changes to our streams. So this is H.265. I can make changes to the frame rate and then also to the, excuse me, to the frame size and also to the frame rate. And over here is where I can make changes to the smart stream technologies that I have available to me. I have my dynamic intra-frame period, smart frames per second, and smart codec I can make changes to here. Also make changes to my bitrate control, or if I need to change it to H.264, say I'm putting it on an NVR or a PC that doesn't, that can't deal with H.265. Okay, I can make the same changes to video stream 2 or video stream 3. And then the final configuration that I'm going to go over is going to be setting up motion detection. If we go under applications, choose motion detection, here's how I can set up my motion detection boxes. Always remember to check this enable motion detection, and then we're going to click on new. This is going to be the old school way of motion detection. This is not smart motion detection. Remember the human-based motion detection. This one is going to be based on pixels changing. So I'm going to go ahead and plot out my points for the areas where I want to determine if there's motion. And I can go ahead and change up the shape of this boxes if I need to. Right here is item size, and I can adjust this to the minimum size of the item that I want before I trigger an alarm. Okay, this is how you can reduce some of your false alarms. And down here is sensitivity, and that just refers to how much a pixel has to change in order for it to be considered changed. Once I have all my settings set, I can go ahead and rename the window and then click on Save. If you notice the box that is right next to sensitivity, that is going to be how you can test out your motion detection box. If the box stays green, then it says that it sees that there's motion, but it's not, the item size isn't big enough, or the pixels haven't changed enough from the sensitivity before it considers it an a motion or to trigger an alarm. Okay, once it hits red, then that means that it has changed or it's big enough and has changed enough for it to be considered to alert you. Okay, so you could just adjust it as needed before so that you can get your alerts. and to help to reduce those false positives. Now that we have our camera configured, there are 3 ways that I'm going to show you how we can record what the camera is viewing. Okay, we can record to an SD card that we install in the camera or to an NVR and then also VAS2. We have our camera UI, we'll go to recording, excuse me, we'll go to local storage, and then we'll go to SD card management. Make sure that your card is already inserted into the SD card slot on the board of your camera. You'll notice here that it says SD card status ready. If it doesn't and it says that there is not one in there, you might want to try hitting format first. Okay, so we're going to have 2 choices here to record to format our card to. We have ext4 and FAT32. If you have a card that is larger than 32 gigs, then you're going to use the ext4. But the only thing is that Windows machines cannot read ext4. You're going to have to use a third-party software to read that. Okay, so choose what format you want to record in and then, or format it, and then you're going to click on format. Here you're going to choose whether you want to enable cyclic storage and then also enable automatic disk cleanup. So if you want it to only keep your data for 7 days, then we can set that up here. Once that is saved, now we need to set up recording. So we're going to go to recording, recording settings. And you can see I already have one set up for, and I named it test. The status is on. I have it for all day, every day. And then I want it to record stream 1 and go to the SD. So in order to add a recording setting, all I have to do is click on add. We can name it. Make sure to enable the recording. Priority, we'll leave it as normal. Stream, you can select which stream you'd like to record at. Trigger, so do we want to record it on only on work days, so Monday through Friday, and only from 8 to 5 p.m. We can choose that here. I'm just going to leave it as always. And then the destination is going to be to the SD card. And my maximum duration of the file, I'm going to leave it as 1 minute, but I can go all the way up to 60 minutes. Maximum file size is 100 megs all the way to 2000 megs. And then what is my file name prefix? I could just say that I want it to say dome camera or lobby. Okay. And then once I'm done with that, I will click on save and then you'll click on close and your information will show up here from what the recording or the settings that we just created will show up here. Okay. In order to view your recording, we can go to local storage. We're going to go to content management. Over here, we could do a search. Remember, all these we have to have set up first as a trigger. I'm just going to search for video clips, and then you have your choice of search for the last minute, hours, days, or weeks. Okay, I'm just going to leave it as is and then click on search, and it's going to pull up my different camera or different recordings that I have. If I click on this, it's going to give me my playback screen, and I can view that. If this is the recording that I want, I'm going to go ahead and click on the checkbox and at the bottom, click on download. Once it's downloaded, this is the IE, so it's going to ask me to go ahead and do I want to save it? So I'll save it to my files, and then I'll need to right click on there and unzip my files, and then I'll have my my recording in that file. All right, next, let me show you how easy it is to add the camera to an NVR for recording. Here is our NVR's UI. We're going to go to the top right, go to settings, under camera management. We're going to click on this plus sign right here to add a camera from the list. It's going to automatically search our network to find all the cameras that have not been added to our NVR. And then we're going to find the camera we're looking for. We'll click on Add and then click on Apply. Hit the back button, and here we can name our camera. Scroll down, and then we can enter in our username and password. Click on Apply. And then we have our camera view connected. We can go back to live view and drag and drop the camera view into our live view screen. Adding the camera to VAS 2 is just as simple. Open up our VAS 2. We're going to enter in our password to open it up. Top right, click on Settings, Settings, Device, Cameras. Click on the plus sign. It's going to search our network and find the different cameras. Let's look for that IT9388. Click on the checkbox and add, and now we authorize. Apply. It'll synchronize the camera time with the server. And then we see our camera has been added right here. We can go to live view, find our camera, drag and drop it into the live view. It's just that simple. All right, and finally, as you know, we are giving away a Yeti Rambler to one customer that attends our presentation. So the first customer with a valid company email address to send me the answers to these two questions will win. Okay, the FD9360, what does the 3 in the 4th position stand for in the model name? And then question 2, what model camera did I tell you to remember earlier? So send your answers over to trainingna@vivotek.com. I'll email you back if you're the winner. If you guys have any questions at all, please also email us at trainingna@vivotek.com. I know we went over a lot of information today, so if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email us. And thank you all for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your day.